Hi guys, welcome back to GP Reactions. I hope you're well, and a really big thank you to everybody that's subscribed over the last few weeks. I haven't really done any reactions for a couple of weeks. I had an intense period of work, and then I did do a few reactions, and about 3/4 of those reactions were a disaster for reasons I don't really want to go into. But and then I've been ill for about last week, so I do apologise for not being around on YouTube. But now I'm back and I'm about to throw myself. I got a feeling I'm going to throw myself right off into the deep end with this one. So this is going to be a reaction to a Genesis live track. And the track in question is Supper's Ready. Supper's Ready was taken from 1972 album for a Foxtrot, and originally it featured the vocals of Peter Gabriel. In its live version, it features the vocals of Phil Collins, as Peter Gabriel would have left I think about 3 or 4 years earlier, or maybe two or 3 years earlier. Also on this live version, it features the percussion and drums of Chester Thompson and Bill Bruford of Yes, or formerly of Yes. So I believe this was actually filmed between the 11th and 14th of June 1977 at the Palais des Sports in Paris, and the actual album Seconds Out was released in October of the same year. So it's about 24 minutes long. I haven't quite made up my mind whether I should pause this at any point. I'm just going to play it by ear. I have had a quick read of the different sections of this song. I vaguely remember one tiny little bit of his song, and I think it was from when I was about 11 or 12. My brother had the album, and it was something to do with Willow Farm. And I remember it being kind of quirky and annoying for me to be jumping around to it. My brother was really annoyed, so that's literally all I kind of know about this song. And I really should have delved into the Foxtrot version first. But there's a part of me, I know nothing about the album Foxtrot, and I really want to go back to that album and maybe work my way through it in some kind of logical order at some point. So yeah, without further ado, I'm going to press play, and I will also probably be making little notes as I go along. So if I look a little bit distracted, it's because I'm writing something down. So yeah, hopefully I won't pause this unless I feel I need to. I'm trying to avoid any kind of blocks or copyright blocks. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. So without further ado, this is Genesis from the album Seconds Out with their track Supper's Ready. When it starts.
Supper's ready. Walking across the sitting room, I turn the television off. Sitting beside you, I look into your eyes as the sound of motor cars fades in the night time. I swear I saw your face change. Didn't seem quite right. And it's hey babe, with your guardian eyes so blue. Hey my baby, don't you know our love is true?
That's beautiful vocals.
Coming closer with our eyes, the distance falls around our bodies. Out in the garden, the moon seems very bright. 6 saintly shrouded men move across the lawn. Slowly the 7th walks in front, with a cross held high in hand. And it's hey there,
Feels like it's transitioning now. loving his keyboards.
Today's the day to celebrate. The bold met their fate. The honor for rejoicing and dancing has come from all around the world.
Sorry guys, I just got to pause it there primarily because I need a drink, and I just need to take in what I've just heard. It's just an incredible, it's just an assault on my auditory senses. Also, this is just an incredible experience so far, and not really sure where it's going. I'm picking up certain themes, but I can't be sure exactly what they mean in a grand scale of the journey that this song is taking me on. I'm loving the organ, actually, the keyboards from Tony Banks, and the drumming. I'm not sure if Phil Collins is actually drumming on this track, or whether it's the other two guys, Chester Thompson, Bill Bruford. So I do apologise. This is it's amazing. I mean, I have heard a tiny little bit of this from this album, but I've never actually listened to it from the beginning right through. So let me just take that back a few seconds. And again, I do apologise for pausing it. Feels like transitioning again.
Wandering in the chaos, the battle has died. We climb up the mountain of human flesh to a plateau of green grass and green trees full of light. A young figure sits still by a pool. He's been stabbed, human bacon, by some butchery tool. He is you. Social security took care of this land. We watch in reverence as Narcissus is turned to a flower. A flower? If you can come to a farm to look for butterflies, 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 open your eyes It's full of surprise. Everyone lies at the fox and the wrecks. And the musical box. It's good and bad, or just one again. And everyone's happy to be here. There's Winston Churchill, Russell Drake. He used to be a police man. Plastic bag, for the drag. The vogue was a prince. The prince was a brick. The brick was an egg. The egg was a bird. And she went. The happiest fish in the gorgeous fish. And the wicked in the morning. We got everything. Look at all everything. We got some in, we got some out. We got some wild things. Everyone, we're changing everyone. You name them all, we've had them here. But the real stars are still to appear. Oh, Sergeant, feel your body melt. Man to man to dime to dime. Get to the office, up, oh, you're out of the ball. Get to dime to bomb, mentally wishing, mentally wishing. You're out for the ball. Let me hear your lies. We're living this up to the eye. To be your And it's hey, babe, with your darling eyes so blue. Hey, my baby, don't you know our love's true? I'm so far from here, far from your love.
wow, that that was a huge journey. I feel like I've just been on. Not entirely sure where I've been, but oh man, that was at the end. I could feel myself getting a little bit emotional, and then right at the very end, I had a kind of goose pimply feeling. This really was something utterly spectacular, and Lord only knows what the original sounds like with Peter Gabriel singing. I I really loved the melody and the harmony of Phil Collins' voice. When you listen to later Genesis tracks, it has a little bit of a coarse, hard edge to his voice sometimes. But I feel in this, he treated this song with surgical gentleness, if that's the right expression. All the way through it, I was so impressed with the drums and the keys. And then I was picking up the guitar. Easier to maybe pick out the bits with Steve Hackett playing on, as he has a very distinctive sound to his guitar and his method of playing. But this was really was a masterpiece, and sometimes you can sum up a theme of a song really easily, and you know, this was a journey of emotions and different feelings at some points, especially with I think it was a Willow Farm bit, which was the point that I actually remembered that section of a song and a little bit more, because that's the bit I used to jump around it. So at points in the song, I was like, I could have laughed, I could have, it felt so bonkers and amusing. At other points, I felt it was kind of really sad, technically sad, and then there was other points where I felt I was really beginning to get genuinely emotional, particularly at the end, because I felt like I was coming out of the trees, and I don't know if anyone's ever seen this film. It was a 1950s or 60s film called The Incredible Journey, with some dogs and a cat. And not that that's got any connection to this, but in the same way as they went on a journey, I felt like the journey had come full circle to a place where of comfort and love, and as that last section came back in, it felt like those dogs and that cat coming out of the trees to see down the valley their owners were waiting for them, and getting a bit of my, and that's how it felt to me. And I wasn't thinking of that. I wasn't trying to put imagery to the song to elicit that emotion. That's just how it felt as it happened. Christ. So I mean, I wrote down all the sections. I made a few notes, but if I had to sum up this song, I'd say it went from the story of this song. It went from the normal into the paranormal, the supernatural, the biblical, and then back to the normal, back to reality. Wow, it's really there's so many bits of this song that you could some of the lyrics were just, I thought some of the lyrics were like fantastic, as one liners went. I think there's Winston Churchill dressed in drag used to be a British flag, plastic bag, or a drag. I'm not sure what that even meant, but initially I kind of got the feeling that there was something paranormal going on. and I think it was the first section. I felt like they were either tripping, so they'd either taken some substances to take them into something else, and there was an immediate feeling that what they'd done wasn't taking them to a happy place. It was taken them to a different place. And whether this was a genuine like paranormal experience or whether this was maybe something drug orientated, it's hard to say. But essentially, it's it's taken them into a place where they've gone on a really odd, horrible, enlightening journey, and they're looking at each other, and they don't almost recognize each other. And then we had this bit about the farmer and the fireman, and it was interesting that the farmer appeared to be like nurturing his farm with water to make things grow. But the same wasn't really said about the fireman. It just said that the fireman looks after the fire. So I'm guessing for a fireman to stay in a job, there has to be fire. I mean, I know technically there's other things, but it's almost like if you can create a fire, you can look after it. And then we went on to this thing, and I did make a note of it, the guaranteed eternal sanctuary man. And I really got the feeling from this that this was something to do with science. This was something to do with religion and maybe kind of falsehoods, like the guarantee of eternal sanctuary. If you follow a certain path, if you do certain things in life. I thought that was kind of really, really interesting. It's very, very modern topics there about people following people because of what they know, what they tell them, and ordinarily these things are adhered to through fear. So we then went on to this really weird. I can't remember. I mean, I did lose my sections. I think there's about 7 sections. To be something I kind of lost it, which is all credit to the transitioning of each section, that I would maybe be so absorbed with what's happening that I didn't really take too much of account of it. So there was a part then when suddenly they were thrust into a different world, a world of death, and it's like this big hill of human bodies, and then there's something about Narcissus, which I believe is was a character in ancient mythology that loved its own reflection, and Narcissus turns into a flower, and then there's the young lad who's dying or dead, and that line where it says social security would take care of this lad. And do you know what, even that's got modern connotations, because I immediately thought of social security, and when you say taking care of someone, it can mean 2 things. It can mean doing away with them or actually looking after them, and quite often the social security is seen as a good thing, but the way it's delivered in a modern society in the UK, it's often really detrimental to the people that receive it, and it's often comes with so many caveats that it does more harm than good for looking after people, and yeah, it does take care of people in more than one way, and that kind of like cut quite deep with me, which is no pun intended. Then we went on to this crazy, I think it was the Willow Farm bit, which I remembered from when I was about 11 years old, 11 or 12. I remember my brother playing this around about 1978. So I used to annoy him a bit during this section of the song. And the Willow Farm thing was just really odd. It was about, and that's where I think the Winston Churchill dressed in drag bit came from. And it's like a brick becomes an egg becomes, and it just felt like it was very organic and transforming, and objects and stuff was morphing into other objects and people. And this part of the song actually, when I'm thinking about it, as I'm talking about it, it just makes me think of psychedelic drugs. I've never taken psychedelic drugs, but from what I've been told by maybe a few people that have, is that just things just seem bizarre. And having had like fevers and stuff, I had a the most probably most intense migraine I've had for about 6 7 years over the last 3 or 4 days, and at times in that I was so blinded by pain that reality was it kind of morphed into non-reality, if you like. So I'd lapse in and out of dream states, and fortunately I've been on holiday, so it doesn't really matter. But listening to this, it kind of felt sort of similar. I had a quite high fever as I had this migraine, and I took medication, which actually made things even weirder. And yeah, just things don't see as they should do in the physical world. So, and then we kind of came out into what I can only describe as like a biblical phase. It felt like almost a revelation. Maybe it's a revelation following the psychotropic or psychedelic drug that you would kind of experience. People have visions that only make sense afterwards, and perhaps it was like this feeling of immense spirituality, and the sense that religion was closer to you after the experience than it was at the beginning. And yeah, it felt at the very very last bit, it felt like the couple or the people involved were coming back to each other. If it was something paranormal event, it was just a most incredible paranormal possessive, maybe an exorcism feeling. But this, I'm sort of torn between a paranormal and a drug related experience. But either way, they've come full circle, and they're back in each other's arms, and things are normal, and whatever happened, I think needs to stay in the past for this couple. I loved as well the way that certain certain themes at the beginning were then repeated, but in a different way. They were repeated instrumentally. There was that wonderful flute that came in and out of his song. It seemed to reprise what I heard at the beginning. And then obviously right at the end, we come full circle with reprise from the beginning. And it was just amazing, amazing song. I can't even begin to really understand I'm not even going to read lyrics because it's so much to understand that I'm pretty sure half of it still won't make sense afterwards. I'll probably have a private read of the lyrics and see if I can appreciate it a little bit more. And it might actually do me to read the lyrics to myself at some point, because ultimately I can then come back to Foxtrot with a greater understanding, but still with something fresh to look forward to. I'm sure there's certain sections of his song that would really stand out as being able to be performed really theatrically by Peter Gabriel that I'll probably really appreciate in the original. And I know nothing about the album Foxtrot. I don't know what tracks are on there, so absolutely I'm going to at some point go back to that album. I'm going to give this track itself time to settle in my consciousness, and I'm probably going to have another listen to it, to be fair. And I'll probably just close my eyes and lie down as I'm listening to it. I was tempted to kind of close off my just relax, but I really wanted to kind of make a few notes as to what I thought was going on. Guys, that was amazing. I really hope this doesn't get blocked, and I really hope you enjoyed this. My reasoning for actually reacting to this was that a number of the reactors I've seen, few of the ones I follow, I've noticed them reacting to the original, and I was so tempted to listen to that along with them. But then I thought it would be a great idea to actually come back and react to this version. And there's quite a few people reacting apparently to Supper's Ready, which is great. And I'm definitely going to come back and react to that version and other tracks off a Foxtrot album. So, do you know what? Please join me in the comments below. I do apologise for pausing it. I really needed to stop and have a drink and absorb what I'd just listened to. And I hope you didn't mind me pausing it and taking it back a few seconds. Often or not, it may or may not help with getting this through without being blocked. But yeah, I hope for the rest of it you enjoyed it, and yeah, please join me in the comments below. I can't wait to hear what your views and opinions are on this song. I mean, it felt like there was actually bits of this song which felt like they were taking us through historical references, but I have to kind of err on the side of fantasy with this, that this was a figment of an inducement of some kind, whether it be paranormal or drugs. So, but there was one point where I thought we were talking about maybe the turn of the 19th century, with maybe there was things to do with the Boer War, maybe there was elements to do with the First World War, but without actually reading up, I wouldn't be able to expand on that. And I think for such a long track, I just need to absorb that feeling now. So thanks for listening, thanks for being there. I'm sorry I've left it so long to do a reaction. I hope you understand. And till next time, take care of yourselves, and I will catch you all soon.